A boy slowly gets out of his room and walks towards someone else's before his foot accidentally touches a carry-on bag. He wonders why it's out here and decides to ask her tomorrow. His heart rapidly beats as he slowly opens a door and walks in, remarking that when a person gets addicted to something, he loses self-control. Even before he realizes it, he gets addicted more and more. In the morning, the boy cheerily greets his mother, who asks if he slept well. She says she made soup for breakfast, and the boy annoyingly says he thought it was curry. His mom reminds him that they had curry last night and tells him to try the soup since it's good. She sits down at the table with him, but the boy asks why she's staring at him. She says it's to make sure he's eating well, but he embarrassingly asks her to stop and questions how he's supposed to eat when she's looking at him like that. She doesn't say anything, so he admits it's uncomfortable. The boy remarks that this is Hye-su Kwon, his stepmom who his father left behind. They live together now, but he can never forget the day his dad first introduced her to him. Her first impression was cold yet strict. In a flashback, Hye-su bends down and asks the boy if he's Ji-won. He slowly nods, so she comfortingly hugs him and says she always wanted a son. Ji-won suddenly snaps out of it because of Hye-su, who tells him to eat his beans and to not pick them out. She takes one to feed it to him, but he blushingly says he's not a little kid. However, Hye-su doesn't budge, so he slowly eats it. She asks if it's yummy, and he blushingly affirms. She tells him to eat his beans now since he's a big boy. Ji-won suddenly remembers the carry-on in the living room and asks what that's for, surprising Hye-su. She's about to tell him something, but her phone suddenly starts beeping. Upon checking the time, Hye-su quickly gets up and says she's late, so they'll talk more after she gets back. She tells him to have fun and to not be late at school before heading to the bathroom. Ji-won slowly mutters that he never wanted to know how the beans tasted. Later, as he's walking to school with a friend, the boy asks if he's the only one feeling hot, so Ji-won confirms that it's just him. The boy tells Ji-won he doesn't feel hot because he's all skinny. If he was muscled like him, he would feel hot too. Ji-won asks if his muscles are like ingrown toenails since he can't see them, so the boy hurriedly flexes his arms and tells him to take a closer look. My guy is trying to show off things that aren't there. They suddenly hear a boy hurriedly asking a girl named Soo-yeon to join him. However, the girl declines, so the guy says he's just worried about her health. Ji-won asks his friend what the guy's doing, so he says he's bothering her to eat with him. She clearly doesn't want to, but he won't stop. While using his phone, Ji-won says she must have a lot of meal tickets, but his friend annoyingly says that's not it. The girl notices Ji-won and happily rushes towards him, asking if he's heading to the department building. Ji-won's friend knowingly nudges him and asks if he heard that, explaining that Soo-yeon wants him to rescue her and is asking him to help her get rid of that leech. He hurriedly tells Ji-won to say yes and go, and Soo-yeon asks for Ji-won's help just this once. However, Ji-won says he has to go home since he has a plan with his mom, startling her. His friend hurriedly calls him a moron and tells him to tell his mom he'll be late, but Ji-won declines since she said she had something to say to him. He says he'll see him later and starts leaving, seeing which his friend mutters that he really is a mama's boy since he even turned Soo-yeon down. He wonders what's going on in his head as Ji-won remembers the memory of Hye-su saying she will stay with him until he goes to college. While going home on the bus, Ji-won hopes it's not about that. When he arrives, he sees that all the lights are off and surprisingly sees clothes littered around the living room. He suddenly notices that the carry-on is gone and rushes to Hye-su's bedroom, remembering that it was there this morning. He barges into the room to see Hye-su, who asks what's wrong and if something's happened since he's sweating a lot. Ji-won hurriedly rushes forward and embraces her. Surprised, Hye-su asks what's wrong and reminds him that he'll have to say something for her to help him. Ji-won admits he thought she left since the carry-on was gone and all the lights were off. Hye-su reassuringly pats him and says she was just putting the carry-on away. Ji-won asks her to not leave him and says he doesn't want that, so she agrees to never leave him and even promises. In that case, Ji-won asks if she can stay with him tonight and says he wants to sleep with her, hearing which Hye-su starts blushing. Later, Hye-su nervously enters Ji-won's room and wonders if this is really alright. Lying on the bed, Ji-won blushingly admits lying next to her is making him nervous, even though he's the one who asked her to do it. He wonders if she's sleeping and slowly admits he was scared she would leave him while he was asleep, which is why he didn't want to be away from her. In a flashback from middle school, Ji-won and a girl see that it's raining. She asks if he has an umbrella, so he admits he doesn't. She takes hers out, saying her mom made sure she had it. Ji-won asks if she can share it with him, just to the convenience store, offering to hold it. However, the girl blushingly whips it away from his hands. He asks her to just let him borrow it to the convenience store, but she insists that this is a tiny umbrella and their wet skin might touch. She hurriedly says it's just weird and starts leaving. Ji-won assures her that he doesn't smell in showers every day, but the girl nervously says it's not that and dismissively turns away, saying she's going home. Ji-won sighs and wonders what the big deal is in their skin touching. He looks up and wonders if he has to wait till the rain stops, but a completely drenched Hye-su suddenly arrives to bring him the umbrella. She wearily says he forgot to take it with him and admits she only grabbed one since she was in a rush. While they're walking back home together under the umbrella, Ji-won blushingly remarks that it's different from before. When her skin touches him, there's a flutter in his heart. The next morning at her office, Hye-su wearily says she barely got any sleep yesterday, remarking that she was going to sneak out when he fell asleep, but she didn't expect Ji-won to cuddle with her all night. My guy is really starting to get freaky. She tells herself that she needs to do something about this immediately. She checks online and sees that these things really happen. She sees that only 5 people have commented on these posts and wonders what kind of solution they offer. She asks herself if she should contact the person who has responded before her colleague suddenly appears and asks if she's alright. The man asks if something is bothering her, so Hye-su depressingly asks if it's that obvious. The man admits it is, wondering if she's upset at him for bothering her. She wearily says she must be out of her mind and slowly gets up, saying she's taking the rest of the day off to meet someone, so she'll see him tomorrow. The man tells her to have a good day and mutters that she must be under lots of stress from this project. He smilingly says she spends too much time on work, but that's probably what makes her so attractive. Later in a coffee shop, Hye-su tells her friend she has a problem. Her friend asks if it's about a man, catching Hye-su off guard. She asks how she knew, so the woman says she can tell from her face, and asks if he's the same guy she cancelled their trip for. She admits she never thought Hye-su would look at another man in her life, and asks who this guy giving her problems is. Hye-su nervously reveals that it's her son, shocking the woman, who spits out her drink. Hye-su angrily says she'll let this one slide, and tells her to not spit out whatever's in her mouth again. The woman cheerily apologizes and asks if she means Ji-won. Hye-su slowly says she doesn't know where to start and says it started a few days ago. Once she's done explaining everything, Hye-su admits this is a serious problem, but the woman annoyingly asks if she kept on doing what Ji-won said and didn't push him away. Hye-su admits that's because she'll never be his real mom, and she thought she was being too sensitive about it. She also thought that she needed to do better. In a flashback, Ji-won tells Hye-su he doesn't want to go to the academy today, so Hye-su asks if he wants to study at home. Presently, the woman admits she was always soft on Ji-won and tells her to get up so they can go to her house. Hye-su asks why, so she says she'll handle this. She mutters that no matter what happens, she can't interfere. Hye-su asks if she'll really help him, so she agrees, only if Hye-su promises that she will do as she says, so Hye-su annoyingly agrees and they leave. After taking a bath, Ji-won sees that he's received a message from Hye-su, saying she's bringing a guest. Hye-su suddenly announces that she's here before the woman cheerily enters and asks Ji-won how he is, announcing that she's brought some ice cream. However, she suddenly stops when she sees Ji-won standing in his towel. The woman Kyung-ha blushingly admits Ji-won is really different from how she remembers him. In a flashback, a young Ji-won tells Kyung-ha that his math teacher said the absolute value of a rational number is always 0 or a positive real number. She admits she's never heard of that before and says she doesn't get it, questioning why one would force a number that can make its own decision to be positive. Ji-won quickly runs off and comes back with a book, asking if she can help him with language arts. Kyung-ha cheerily says she's bad at language arts as well. Ji-won asks about writing or world history, but Kyung-ha says she went on a trip last week and asks if he wants to hear about it. Ji-won stays silent for a moment and says he can do it himself, so Kyung-ha laughingly says he's really smart. She kisses him on the cheek, but he embarrassingly mutters that he hates it when she does this. Presently, Kyung-ha questions when Ji-won grew so big as Ji-won stares at her. She inwardly questions why he's approaching her and admits he's too close. Ji-won happily hugs her when he realizes it's her. Kyung-ha blushingly tries to ask him to wait, but he happily says she hasn't changed a bit and looks the same. She slowly pushes him away and says he's all grown up now, so he can't just hug her like that. He apologizes and says he was just really happy to see her. Kyung-ha cheerily says she almost didn't recognize him and is surprised by how broad his shoulders are. Infuriated, Hye-su remarks that she thought Kyung-ha was going to reprimand him or something, but she wonders what she's doing here. She clears her throat and tells Kyung-ha that their ice cream is melting, so Kyung-ha cheerily tells Ji-won they should have some ice cream. Hye-su remarks that she has a bad feeling. She can't explain why, but she has a feeling this is going to take a wrong turn. She wonders if she can really trust her, and later while they're eating ice cream, Kyung-ha sees that Ji-won was really cute. She asks if he has a girlfriend and believes he must be popular, but Ji-won says he doesn't and asks why she thinks that is the case. Because you're the protagonist. She asks why he doesn't when he's a grown-up now. She offers to give him tips on getting a girlfriend. Ji-won declines and says he just wants to live with Hye-su, just the two of them. Kyung-ha flops down on the bed, warning him that if he only spends time with her, he's going to become a mama's boy. However, Ji-won says he doesn't care about other women since he doesn't find them attractive, so Ji-won confirms that he doesn't. Kyung-ha gets why Hye-su was so worried and admits she would worry too. She slowly touches Ji-won's hand and tells him to look at her. She explains that it's possible to find older women attractive when he's young. Admiration or curiosity can be easily mistaken for love, so his heart or feelings can be confusing. Ji-won insists it's not a mistake and says he only gets that fluttering feeling from Hye-su, and he feels happy when he's with her. He adds that he gets close to her without realizing it and doesn't want to be apart from her. Surprised, Kyung-ha questions what he's saying and admits this is more serious than she thought. She wearily gets up and opens the door to see Hye-su sitting outside. Hye-su nervously asks if she's done, but Kyung-ha says they're just getting started and asks Hye-su if she can come back an hour. Hye-su asks why since they're just going to talk in Ji-won's room. She says she wants to stay, but Kyung-ha shoves her out, declaring that she's a distraction before slamming the door on her. She slowly sighs and locks the door, remarking that if this goes on, Hye-su might lose her precious family again, and now is the chance to prevent it from happening. Hye-su returns to see Ji-won standing in the middle of the room, holding his pants. She asks what they were doing, so Kyung-ha hurriedly explains that she accidentally spilled ice cream on his pants. Hye-su glares at Ji-won and asks if she's telling the truth, so Ji-won hurriedly affirms this. Hye-su believes him and wearily asks herself what she's thinking since, of course, nothing would have happened between them. Kyung-ha asks Hye-su if she's okay, knowing she came in because she was worried. She assures her that everything is fine and tells her to not worry, saying she thinks it's because Ji-won has no experience with girls since all he's been doing is studying. However, she mutters that now that she's talked to him, things will get better from now on, and tells her to act as usual and to not be awkward, so Hye-su slowly thanks her. Kyung-ha hurriedly leaves, and while walking down the stairs, she blushingly says it's all Ji-won's fault before admitting she should get home now. Later in class, Soo-gyun's friend is telling her that she and her brother got into a big fight, and they haven't talked since then. Ji-won's friend nudges him and says Soo-gyun is sitting behind them. He asks if he should say something and suggests that he should say hi to her. However, Ji-won says she wouldn't like getting interrupted, so the boy agrees to wait. Soo-gyun's friend wearily tells her she wouldn't know since she doesn't have a brother and mutters that she hates when her laundry gets mixed in with his dirty clothes. Surprised, Ji-won suddenly remembers that his pants are still in the laundry basket. The girl says her brother doesn't even take a shower that often and never changes his clothes. She annoyingly asks who doesn't sort out their dirty laundry, calling it rude, creepy and filthy, which hurts Ji-won. Bro is getting roasted left, right, and center. He instantly gets up, saying he just remembered that there's something he needs to do. He tells his friend, Sung-buk, he'll see him tomorrow since he has to go now. Sung-buk annoyingly mutters that he was going to ask him to hang out after school. Soo-gyun unexpectedly calls Sung-buk from behind and asks why Ji-won just left before the class ended. Sung-buk says Ji-won said something urgent came up at home. Soo-gyun asks if he can tell her what's going on, so Sung-buk cheerily asks if he should tell her everything from the beginning. However, Soo-gyun cheerily asks for just the part she asked, and her friend mutters that she hates that look on his face. Ji-won hurries home and checks if Hye-su is home. However, he sees that he was able to get home before her and admits he didn't know women hated getting their laundry mixed. Hye-su suddenly appears, saying she was in the shower and didn't hear him. Ji-won hurriedly gets up, so she explains that she left work early so that they can have dinner together. She says she's going to make his favorite curry and asks if that's okay, so Ji-won nervously affirms this and goes to run the washer. Later in her room, Hye-su wonders what's going on with Ji-won and checks her phone to see that the commenter has responded. The person says they saw her message and think they know what's going on with her problem. They ask to meet in person and give Hye-su their address, so Hye-su questions if this person can really help her. Later in her car, Hye-su remarks that although she's heading to the address the person gave her, she's not sure if this is the right thing to do, but she doesn't really have any other choice right now. The GPS says she will arrive at her destination soon, so Hye-su reaches a huge hotel and questions if she's meeting a stranger at a place like this, because this definitely looks like something straight out of a B-grade movie. Standing in front of the hotel room, Hye-su wonders if this is really a good idea, since that person said they would help, but she doesn't know who they are. She decides to turn around and leave, but a woman suddenly opens the door and recognizes Hye-su. She asks why she didn't call her when she arrived, so Hye-su smilingly says she just got here. The woman invites her in, but Hye-su nervously asks if they're going to talk in there. The woman asks if she thinks she's going to kidnap her, telling her to come in without worrying. They sit down, and the woman mutters that she wanted to meet her here because it's a difficult topic to talk about in public. She asks if she would like a glass, but Hye-su declines since she drove here. She reminds the woman that she said she has a solution to her problem. The woman says she must be anxious and reveals that a lot more people that she thinks worries about this issue. No matter how long they both have known each other, they aren't related. It's a relationship between a man and a woman. She mutters that she gave a lot of thought to it too, talked to him and scolded him, but a human instinct isn't something that can be controlled, so what she thought was to share the issue, and it seems to work. She tells Hye-su she can check over there if she wants to take a look at it herself. Hye-su wonders what that room is and admits she has a bad feeling, but she needs to see for Ji-won. She tells the woman to show her because she would like to see it. The woman says that's a good choice, since something like this is better to see than having it explained to you 1,000 times. After seeing what's inside the room, Hye-su hurriedly whips her hand away and says she'll pretend that she didn't hear anything. She hurriedly starts leaving, telling herself that this isn't what she needs for Ji-won. The only thing that guy needs is therapy. In the house, Ji-won hopes Hye-su didn't take the situation wrong and admits he should listen to Kyung-ha and not go into Hye-su's room anymore. He suddenly hears some thudding and sees Hye-su lying on the floor at the entrance. He hurriedly rushes to her side, asking if she's okay and what's wrong. Drunk, Hye-su slowly touches Ji-won's cheek. He quickly helps her get up and asks if she's drunk. He asks her to stand up straight for a second since she might fall down. She wearily asks him to carry her, but Ji-won asks why she drank so much and why she's soaked in the rain. Hye-su flops down on her bed, and Ji-won mutters that he finally got her down. He's about to help her get changed since she's soaked, but Hye-su slowly turns away and says she's found a place and will be moving out since she doesn't think they should live together anymore. Stunned, Ji-won asks why she's suddenly telling her this all of a sudden, so she mutters that it's because he only likes her. He isn't interested in any other woman and only wants to be with her all the time. She wearily says that if she stays here, he won't see or date anyone else, so she's scared that she has ruined his life, shocking Ji-won. The worst thing she can say is no. Later, Ji-won arrives at Kyung-ha's house, and she cheerily asks what he's doing here at this hour. She's about to ask where Hye-su is, but suddenly notices that he's completely drenched. Kyung-ha invites Ji-won inside and asks if he got wet from the rain, saying he must be cold. She quickly dries him off with a towel and asks if something bad happened. My guy is acting like he just got dumped. She's about to tell him to say something, but she quickly catches herself and says they should get him washed up first. She turns away and tells him to take a shower, but Ji-won suddenly grabs her hand and embraces her from behind, asking if they can finish what they started.